morning, everyone, and welcome to the 8th day of my Reduce Waste Challenge. Today's edition goes out to Brady, Ella, Emerson, Jack, Jonah, Josh, Lizzie, Mason, and Matthew, aka my favorite 4th graders. I gotta tell you, it is very challenging to produce absolutely no waste. I got this kombucha this morning. It's in a glass bottle, but it's wrapped in a little bit of plastic. I'm hoping to get better at this by the end of the month. But nevertheless, I have completed 1 full week of the challenge. I thought I would spend today showing you guys a recipe I found because I have some bok choy that I need to use up, and I have a cool idea about how not to waste the food scraps of that. In order to make a bok choy and asparagus frittata, I need to use garlic, ginger, onion, eggs, asparagus, and bok choy. Now, that's going to produce a lot of waste. For example, you don't use the bottoms of asparagus because they're woody. The eggshells, what am I going to do with that? The paper around the onions and the garlic, and the butt of the bok choy. What do I do with that? Well, I actually am getting all of the materials I need to make a compost bin. I've been wanting to do that forever, and I finally just went ahead and got what I needed. Don't be fooled. They try to sell you those $300 self-turning composting bins, but my research indicates you can do something called a vermicompost, and that's where you have red wiggler worms that eat your kitchen scraps, and they produce the compost material. So you don't have to move it or anything. It's relatively user-friendly. So what I'm going to do is make this frittata. Then I'm going to collect all of the food scraps and put them in my freezer so that I have food for my worms when they come in next week. Check out all my ingredients. I got bok choy from the store, got it in a mesh bag as opposed to a plastic one. Same thing with the asparagus. Onions are from Hungry Harvest. Ginger is from a friend of ours who got it in a paper bag. Ginger is hidden under there. Garlic, same thing, loose clove. And the eggs are actually from my chickens outside. So let's go ahead and clear off our workspace and start getting rid of the woody end part of the asparagus. Can't eat any of that, but my worms are going to love that. The recipe I found says to cut the asparagus into 1-inch pieces. That's 1 inch. I'm thinking of biting into them in the frittata. So I think I'm going to go through this one once again, because you don't want it to be, so big that it's impossible to eat. Time to cut bok choy into 1-inch pieces as well. Get a bigger knife. Another bowl. Got my scrap bowl here. A lot of the time with my kitchen scraps, what I'll do is give them to my chickens, or I'll give them to the pig, because that's a nice little treat for them. Saves me money and it doesn't get wasted. And that works wonders. But like I said, I'm really looking forward to doing a composting bin. Just kind of roughly chop up the onions. Onions get soft really easily, so unless the recipe says to make them really, really finely chopped, you can just kind of chop them up. Next, you prepare the garlic cloves by cutting off of the root of the clove and then peeling away the paper, like so. Gonna go ahead and crush the garlic. And I always like to leave the residue in there when I do the next clove because you usually squish out more. And that goes into the composting bowl. Last but not least, my bit of ginger. You peel off the rough skin and then you grate it. And this ginger is super fresh because it's from my friend who got it at a restaurant store. So it's like top of the line. And all those peels and that little butt end from that I grated before can go into your compost. Be careful not to hurt yourself. Now the last thing I have to prep are the beaten eggs. And this recipe calls for 9. So let's go. So as you can see, everything is prepped. We've got our bowl of eggs, we've got our bok choy, our asparagus, our ginger, our onion and garlic together. And in the back there, we've got the compostable items. We're gonna go ahead and saute in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, the onions, garlic, and ginger. I can usually eyeball how much to put in. And get that nice and warm. Go ahead and put in the ginger. The onions and garlic. And we're gonna saute this right here until they get soft, so maybe 30 seconds. Go ahead and put in the ginger, the onions and garlic. And we're gonna saute this right here until they get soft, so maybe 30 seconds. Time to toss in the bok choy. And you want the bok choy to soften a little bit. Asparagus. See, that just looks healthy to me. Look how green all of that is. So the recipe says to pour the egg into the pan and cook it for a little bit before baking it. But I've made crustless quiches by simply mixing everything up and then putting it in the baking pan and baking it as is. So when these vegetables get just slightly tender, that's what I'm gonna do. Now I've already preheated my oven to 325 degrees, and I've also already put some salt and pepper in the egg mix just for a little added flavor. Okay, the leaves are wilted and the asparagus is just soft, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix it in with our eggs. It smells awesome. Into the pan. All right, that looks awesome. We're gonna go ahead and put that in for about a half an hour. So while that's cooking, I'm gonna take this opportunity to introduce you all to my hens who laid me these eggs and who will enjoy the eggshells. It sounds kind of gross, but you can actually give your chickens, ducks, fowl, all your animals, you can give them back your egg shells, the eggshells that they laid, because it strengthens future eggshells. Plus it's a tasty treat and they like tasty treats. Hens! Wanna say hi? We've got Penny, Persephone, and Phoebe. God bless them, they are not the brightest birds on the planet, but they're cute. So now the only compost with which we have been left is all the food scraps from this frittata. I'm gonna take this bag that I got from Cava, it's made of paper, and I'm gonna put my food scraps in the bag and freeze it in preparation for my composting next week. So the only thing we're left with is the butt of the bok choy, which you can actually regrow. And all you need to regrow bok choy is the butt of the bok choy with about 2 to 3 inches saved, a shallow dish, and some water. I'm going to use the same bowl that I stored my other composting items in. Fill it with about 1 inch of water. And stand the bok choy in the water. Now I'm going to go take this over to where my seeds are growing. Now if the water gets cloudy, you just replace it. I'm gonna check back on that in about a week to see whether or not I've grown any more bok choy. Hopefully I have, because I love bok choy. And if it doesn't work in the future, I'll just include that in the composting for my wormies. Okay, let's check out my frittata. Ooh, that's so pretty. Thank you so much for watching the 8th day of my Reducing Waste Challenge. I'll see you guys tomorrow.